childish, petulant. Yeah, that's how Democrats came across last night during President Trump's State of the Union. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome to the Shermichael Singleton Show. I'm your host, Shermichael Singleton, and President Trump had an address to the nation, State of the Union. They're kind of all one and the same, if you will. Typically, State of the Unions don't occur until after the first 1 year into the president's term. But President Trump decided to address Congress and the nation a little early. Kudos to him, letting people know what's going on. He talked about immigration and said, hey, the Democrats said you needed a bill to lower and address our illegal immigration problem. President Trump said, I come into office and now the numbers are almost at zero. He's not wrong. He talked a little bit about tariffs and pretty much glossed over it. Obviously, we know Donald Trump likes to use tariffs as a bargaining tool. I get it. Tariffs can be inflationary. And by that, I mean it can increase the cost on the price of goods. We don't want that. That's not a good thing. I do understand the argument of saying, hey, let's use tariffs to get Mexico, Canada, China, other places to come to the drawing board so that we can have a more fair, more equal trade partnership. I don't disagree with that. I'm also in support of bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States. We've already seen some companies hinting that they're likely going to do that as a workaround to the tariffs. Let's see if that pans out as President Trump is saying. Let's see if it pans out as some of those companies have said. UAW, the big union, said, look, this is a great thing. Free trade, NAFTA, North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement was atrocious, wiped out the middle class. A lot of Americans who relied heavily on those manufacturing jobs saw those jobs wither away over time. That's why a lot of towns and cities across this country have sort of become obsolete in terms of numbers of residents, resources, etc. People decided to move to other cities. They move away. These dwindling towns are dying. It's almost like looking at some of those small towns in Italy where they're like, you can buy a house for $1. Come on over. So he touched on some big things. He recognized some incredible people. Young kid, DJ, young African-American kid who survived brain cancer. He recognized the mother of the daughter who was murdered by an illegal immigrant. And what's interesting about both of these cases to me, and he also recognized a young man who was accepted into West Point, which President Trump actually announced his appointment to and acceptance to West Point. The kid didn't even know, so that was wonderful to see. But what really was disappointing to me was the fact that Democrats did not applaud, did not stand up for the kid who had survived brain cancer. They sat there. Again, petulant, childish. They did not stand for the mother who lost her child due to an illegal alien coming across the border illegally, killing her. Then you had a couple of interesting moments. You had interesting moments such as Congressman Al Green with his cane. Here he is right there, out of Texas, Democrat. He got kicked out because he refused to showcase decorum. And then you had Democrats with their paddles, like childish, immature. And you see all these Democrats sitting there with the paddles. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. I want to show you guys the paddles. I don't know if we have the paddles. If we don't, we're going to bring it up because I want you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about here. Look at this. Musk steals, false. Save Medicaid. Lies. I mean, this is what Democrats have become. It's almost, as if they're playing a game. That's what it is, because those paddles look like games, like there's gamesmanship instead of serious people trying to do serious work. These are high overpaid politicians who don't give a damn about you. They don't do anything. They come there to sit there with their little stupid signs as if that's going to make a big difference. Disagree where you want to disagree. But you mean to tell me we can't stand up for a child who just survived brain cancer? You mean to tell me that we can't stand up for a mother who just lost her kid to being murdered by someone who's in our damn country illegally? That is the current state of the Democratic Party. It's disgusting, it's despicable, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. And then you had Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary for the president, talking about what happened. Let's roll that clip and then we'll talk about it in between.
The behavior of Democrats last night was completely disgraceful and demonstrated how severely out of touch they are with the American public. It was the most shameful moment in the history of presidential addresses in that beautiful chamber.
She's right, it is disgraceful. Because when you look at the polling data, the vast majority of people who actually watched the speech from CBS to CNN, which Caroline actually cites. Most Americans, 69% at CNN, I think around 73, 74% at CBS, said, oh, they thought it was a pretty good speech for the most part. And yet the Democrats behaved the way they did. This doesn't bode well for them. It doesn't help their agenda when they're coming off as if they're making a mockery about the seriousness of the job that they were elected to do. Let's roll tape.
In what was supposed to be a unifying moment for our country, Democrat members of Congress instead screamed at the President of the United States, who was just overwhelmingly reelected by their constituents, walked out of the...
And she's right when she makes it. Donald Trump was overwhelmingly reelected by the American people, or elected again by the American people. Whether you like it again, and I talked about this in my last episode about mandates, and some people would say, well, the margins was just percent or 0.5%, or it was still relatively close to modern history. A mandate is a victory. That's it. To the victor goes the spoils. When you win an election, you have a mandate, whether you like it or not. When you lose, nobody cares. You go into obscurity, irrelevance. What you have to say doesn't matter anymore. And when you lose, you would think that there is a moment to reflect and to understand that you missed the moment, that you didn't come prepared. You came ill-equipped. And instead of being adversarial throughout the process, instead of opposing every single thing, you look for moments to make you rise, where you look good, to showcase like, hey, I may lose, but I'm not a sore loser. We got a lot of sore losing today. Let's roll tape.
Chamber, and worst of all, they disrespected the American people. Democrats didn't stand to keep men out of women's sports. They couldn't even clap for a girl who got her head smashed in by a man on a volleyball court.
Now, she talks about Democrats couldn't stand for keeping biological men out of biological female sports. Democrats, and you can look this up, just had a meeting in Loudoun County, Virginia, with a bunch of their top strategists. And one of the things they said was that they need to be more pro-America, more pro-American. They even said that they're going to go to gun shows. I go to many gun shows. They're going to go to gun shows to articulate the Democratic message. Now, look, I don't think they're going to find a lot of people willing to listen to them. But hey, in politics, you got to go everywhere because you never know. Yet they talk about being more common sense, more practical in their deliberation and in their ideological positions on cultural issues. And yet, as Caroline just cited, they wouldn't even stand for protecting biological females' right to compete against other biological females. Let's rotate.
Democrats didn't stand for an innocent and beautiful child who is surviving brain cancer. They opposed eliminating taxes on tips and Social Security. They didn't stand in favor of cutting taxes for hardworking Americans. They couldn't even clap for two mothers whose daughters were killed by illegal aliens. One of the only things that could get Democrats off their feet last night was cheering for Ukraine, not for America. Last night was a very clarifying moment for our country. The Democrats exposed themselves as the party of insanity and hate, the party that wants to put America last.
I mean, that wraps it up. Thanks to our friends over at Newsbusters, Curtis, those guys, love them a lot. Look, that wraps it up. She says, look, who wants to be against no taxes on tips? Benefits a lot of people. Who wants to be against no taxes on Social Security? I mean, these are things that benefit hardworking people, and our seniors, Democrats, wouldn't applaud that, but they would applaud Ukraine. I just did a show on Ukraine. You guys know where I feel on that. I'm over the Ukrainian thing. We spent enough of our money there. It's time to bring this thing to a resolution, and if Zelensky can't do it, won't do it, then he's on his own. But he has signaled that he is going to do that, so no surprise there, right? But that's part of the conundrum here for Democrats. They don't have a message. They don't have a leader. No, there's no singular face for the Democratic Party. No one knows what Democrats believe in. People are tired of attaching pronouns, him, her, he, thee, they, their, them, to every policy discussion. People just want stuff to work and work functionally again, and that's not what Democrats are doing. But it gets worse, right? Because it wasn't just Democrats' performance that was just bad yesterday, guys. I mean, look at this. This is another part from Caroline where you got people in the media. I mean, this is really disgusting. Just watch this, and we'll talk about it. I'm going to let it play all the way through.
They've allowed their Trump derangement syndrome to stop them from celebrating America and our people, and we will not allow them to forget that. And it's not just the Democrat Party. The mainstream media still doesn't get it. Last night, MSNBC's Nicole Wallace disgustingly looped in a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer into an attack on the president over January 6th. And CNN's first chyron out of the speech called it divisive. President Trump wasn't divisive. The Democrats were. And CNN was proven wrong by their own viewers, 69% of whom, in a post-speech poll, said they had a positive reaction to the president's speech. It's sad and frankly pathetic that Democrats and liberals in the legacy media continue to allow their hatred for the president to override their love for our country. But nevertheless, the president will continue to unify this nation through policies that are grounded in common sense and that uplift all Americans.
As he should. Another clip that was clipped by our buddies over at Newsbusters. This is really disgusting. You know, I have been on the show of Nicole Wallace, used to work for George W. Bush. And I wouldn't say I know her personally because I don't. I just went on her show a couple times. I don't know how you put in the same sentence a kid who survived brain cancer, is still surviving brain cancer, and I hope he doesn't commit suicide to make a premise about January 6th, which had nothing to do with anything that happened last night. I don't know how you connect those two dots. It showcases a heightened disregard for personal space. It shows a disregard for the innocence of a child. It showcases a lackluster contempt, if you will, for what this kid has gone through to even still be in that chamber last night, having survived multiple surgeries for his life. You don't do that. You do not do that. We don't go after kids. Kids are always untouched. They're untouchable in politics. We have gotten to such a disgusting, despicable place in this country where people think it's okay to try to make an argument about January 6th and a kid and saying, well, he wants to be in law enforcement. Well, I hope one day he doesn't commit suicide like the other 6 officers who killed themselves because Trump's people stormed the Capitol. That was essentially the argument that she was making. And I remember watching the clip thinking to myself, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? She should issue an apology to this kid who has nothing to do with January 6th. Doesn't know anything about that. This is an innocent kid who just loves law enforcement, wants to be a police officer one day, and is probably grateful to God that he is still alive. And you use this moment for a dumbass comparison about goddamn January 6th and some people who killed themselves, and God bless their souls. And God bless their families. But how dare you use your perch to do that? MSNBC should be ashamed of itself because that was disgusting and despicable. You don't go after kids. Whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, you do not go after children because they are innocent and they have nothing to do about the trivialities of politics. But that is where we find ourselves. No holds barred. Anything and everything goes in this modern era of political discontent. No wonder people are turning off the news because this shit has gone too far. At some point, enough is enough. I'm sure Michael Singleton. Let me know what you think about what you saw. If you watched the entire thing, let me know what you thought about some of the highlights in the comments below. Democrats made a fool of themselves. They made a mockery of the process because all they could do was act like petulant, immature children. And they showcased themselves to be just that. I'm sure Michael Singleton. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless.